What's up, everyone? I'm GKB, aka the Governor. I am also joined today by my co-host of the Console Corner and the First Lady of Xbox, She-Wolf. Today on Gamers Knows Best, we will be reviewing and having a great discussion of that neat little game called Overcooked. Is it worth your time and money? Let's get into the video and find out. Real quick, if you're new to the channel, we do gaming videos, reviews, tech unboxings, and the sexiest podcast on Tuesday nights. If these topics interest you, I would consider subscribing. Before we get into the topics of our review, Overcooked was developed by Ghost Town Games, published by Team 17 Digital. You can find this game on PC, Xbox, and PS4. We are reviewing this on the Xbox One. Overcooked is a co-op cooking game for up to 4 players, but you can also play this game solo. You must take your chef from town to town, cooking a plethora of dishes, keeping the customers happy, all before the time runs out. This game will push your skills of cooperation and coordination to the very edge. Alright, into our first topic, and that is the eye candy. Graphics are the first thing that you see before anything else. It's usually the initial thing that grabs you. So what did we think of the art style and overall look of Overcooked? The graphics for me, they're simple. They remind me a lot of like mobile games, and that's really not a bad thing here. I think they work well with this type of game. It's really simple. It's easy to get a hold of and go ahead and play. I really enjoyed the different variety of environments that you can cook in kitchens, from like the food truck and even on the ice, which is pretty hilarious as you're trying to slip around and stuff like that. And this also adds like a lot of new elements to the game. Overall, the graphics are nice and cartoony. They fit the game well, and they don't really take themselves seriously, which I kind of like too. So it's kind of enjoyable fun, just a family type kind of game. What did you think, She-Wolf, of the graphics?
I completely agree. It's just fun. They're vibrant colors, but they're not those, standard bright colors where it's trying to look like a paint pastel. They're actually more brighter and more of a 3D look to them instead of this for all the structures. And I agree, the variety of different maps that you're given, whether you're on the ship or you're on the ice, they give you those environments. They actually give you the feel that that's where you are, but still in that fun textured look to it.
Yeah, one of the ones that when we were playing co-op was the haunted house one, where like the lights and everything were going off. I thought that was kind of interesting too, where you're like, oh my god, where's the cutting board and all this kind of stuff, where you're kind of like mad dashing everywhere. But yeah, I really enjoyed all the environments. It was really cool. Alright, on to the topic that matters most in all video games, and that is gameplay. Without good gameplay, 1, it wouldn't be a game, and 2, if it sucks, you're not going to have fun. So let's go ahead and see what we thought of the gameplay of this game. I'm going to go ahead and start with She-Wolf on this one.
Well, I definitely have to say first, I want to start off with, you have to have a good amount of organization when it comes to this game, or the people you're playing with, you're going to constantly run into each other, and you have to make sure you keep all the jobs separate. And even when you're playing by yourself, you're trying to run 2 different people, and that alone is just crazy and hectic. It's a simple game where you're just chopping meals to placing them on plates, and then finally having to deliver them, but it still gives so much challenge to it as well, because you're on a time limit and you have to get through all these obstacles that each board is giving you, and that alone just brings this game and the game mechanics to a whole new level and definitely makes this fun, enjoyable.
Yeah, this game is the gameplay mechanics is like where the game really shines for me. Like, each level had orders that needed to be made, which is cool, and everything is like strategically placed on the level. So you're really forced to, if you're playing solo, to switch between the characters and try to figure out what is the most efficient way to run the kitchen. Also, if you're not careful, things will start catching on fire, and chaos will go crazy here. And then also, if the things catch on fire, like, you can no longer use those pieces anymore in the kitchen, which I thought was kind of cool too. So it'll take things away from you.
Well, with that, you also have to add in that you actually have to use a fire extinguisher to put out the fire. So they even added that concept into this game as well. It's not just one step at a time. It's literally you have to follow through like as if you were in an actual kitchen and you did something wrong, but still with the time limit that you're given.
Yeah, I agree. As you get further into the game and you start to figure things out, they throw a nice curveball at you as the different levels go on. You know, like the ship where the boat sways back and forth, and the kitchen completely changes as it's sliding from one side to the other. So there's a whole new dynamic and gameplay mechanic with that. Also, the Arctic maps, the food trucks, they also do similar movement things where it kind of cuts off pieces of the thing so you can't continue on until those come back to you. All these elements like add up to some great gameplay. I would recommend playing it in co-op. We did that for a little bit. It was a little bit easier. It seemed like things worked faster, but the scores are higher because you're doing co-op, which is really cool. It's kind of funny, like when I was playing, I felt like we were in an episode of like the Iron Chef where we're trying to like run around, grab all the ingredients, racing against the clock. And as the orders are starting to pile up and trying to get everything done, we're like screaming and hollering and having a good time. So
And you definitely have to talk to each other. You can't even just, sit there and expect to play the game and expect everyone to know what they're doing. You actually have to talk to each other and be like, hey, you got to do this part and I got to do that part and then we'll do this part. And you really have to talk to each other because you do not know what you're expecting when you go into each round because they're so different, like what you were saying earlier about whether the ship is moving back and forth, it moves parts of the boards, or whether you're in the dark and you have to try to find yourself with a flashlight. Like there's a lot of different elements in this game.
yeah, I totally agree. And we've only touched on a few of those. All right, so now we're done with the gameplay mechanics. We're going to go on to the last topic before we get into our verdict, and that is the story. Now, this is usually what keeps us engaged in the game. There have been some great stories in gaming, but what do we think about the story of Overcooked? All right, so the story of Overcooked essentially is you're in a city, it's under attack by some like meatball-headed giant thing, and you're trying to attack it with making food. You're trying to feed it and stuff like that. Essentially, you'll end up failing to continue on with the game, and you go back in time. And what you have to do is you're going through the years and you're learning all these culinary arts to get your skills better to be able to take on this guy at the end of the game. Now, for me, like this kind of a game doesn't really need a story, in my opinion. I would have been completely fine without one. The gameplay's, fun enough. It's one of those like hop in with your family, play for a little while, hop out, go do something else, and come back to it at a later time. But I am glad that they put a story in it, or at least made the effort to put a story in. This is not Mass Effect. This is not the Witcher type kind of story, but at least it's cool that they threw one in there. Overall, the story is kind of, it's okay.
I agree. I don't think it was actually needed to be put in, but the silly aspect of it does set the tone of the game, which is kind of nice as well. It does give you just a little bit of a sense of kind of what you're doing, and then you go into the game itself. So, truthfully, in my opinion, I don't think it was needed, but it was still a nice little touch, and it wasn't overdone either.
Yeah, I like that too. It wasn't overdone. It didn't take itself seriously. It knew what it was. And then just gave you something to keep you moving along. All right, now on to what everyone came to see, and that is if it's a buy, sale, or flush this turd down the toilet. So let's get into our pros and cons, starting off with the cons. I'm going to go ahead and let She-Wolf start with this one.
For the cons, I'd have to say one would have to be the solo part of it, just because it's really hard to focus on having two characters, and I guess if it comes down to it, if you want that challenge and that difficulty, then I guess that's good for you. But me personally, I think they should have maybe just had you with one chef and not two. My other con would have to be the fact of it's only couch co-op and not online co-op. And for us personally, we may have each other to play with, but other people may not. And so it would have been nice to actually be able to play with your friends online than having to only play with people who are actually in your house.
All right, cool. My two cons are, I only have two for this one. Is the music. I would have liked to have seen more variety there. It's kind of the same old, tune going throughout. There is little changes here and there, but it was kind of like meh. The mechanics when cutting food seemed a bit wonky to me at times. Like there was like extra steps that I felt like it didn't really need. Like if you carry the food over to the cutting board, you should be able to just tap X or A or whatever to start cutting, but you have to like sit it down on the cutting board and then you have to hit to cut, which I thought was kind of wonky and just took extra time that it really didn't need to. All right, so let's go ahead on to the pros. What did you like about this game, Xshewulf?
I like the fact that they had different amount of boards, so you never knew what you were expecting when you went into it. I really enjoyed the fact that there was different challenges and they weren't always the same. I also did like the graphics. I thought the whole 3D look was just fun and bubbly to play and just kind of brought the game more to life with the type of game style that it actually was.
Cool. For me, honestly, my first pro is I really enjoyed the graphics and, like she was saying, like the variety of areas that you went to, and which offered new gameplay mechanics. So I thought it was right on the money with that kind of stuff. The gameplay and couch co-op is where it's at in this game. It's cool playing it solo, but like Xshewulf said, it's very tough to handle both of them at the same time and trying to do a whole lot of things. Having extra players with you definitely makes it a bit easier. And my third one is the achievements are easy to get. Like you can go and just play through the game essentially and just get all of them. There is one that you probably have to 3-star all the levels, and that's about the only one that really takes some time. All right, so is this game a buy, a sale, or a flusher? For me, actually, I enjoyed the game. If you're looking for a game that you can just play with loved ones, it's simple and easy to pick up. Anybody can. You can play this with your kids and everything like that. You all have a great time. I do give this game the governor's seal of approval, but I will say wait for a sale. It's $17 not on sale. It's $13.59 right now. And if you can get it under $10, I would definitely snag this up and enjoy a good time. What about you, Xshewulf?
I would definitely say a sale because this game, as fun as it is, you can't play online with your friends. You can only play with the people who are in your house. And to me, that just makes it a little harder to recommend to anybody because not everybody has, loved ones or someone living with them that plays games. So it is an enjoyable game by yourself if you like challenging type games and the variety that this game does have with its boards. I do recommend for a sale.
All right, cool. All right, so that's it. We hoped you enjoyed the review discussion of Overcooked. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you drop a pizza on that like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, make sure to subscribe. And as always, take care of your fellow gamers.